Hey guys, welcome to Mr. Smith's Kitchen. Brian, Mr. Smith Kitchen, as always. And today, I thought we would bake a marble cake. So it's a two-layer cake, very moist. This will actually be my third time making it. The first time I made it was to check the recipe. Second time I made it was for a friend or customer, as the case may be. And then I had been asked on Facebook if I was going to do a video on it, and I thought, sure, why not? It would give us something to bake. We don't do a whole lot of cakes, or at least we haven't lately. And cakes are fun, and this one's relatively easy and straightforward. Doesn't have a lot of moving parts, so to speak. It does have a few steps, but I mean, it's not bad. You know, not bad at all. I think it'll move rather quick. If you're new to my channel, welcome. I'm glad you stopped by. I hope you get something out of my videos. We're just here to document kind of me and my thoughts, ideas, and all things food. You know, is what it comes down to. Just if it's an aspect of food in some shape, form, or another, we talk about it or do it. That being said, if you're returning, it means you're a glutton for punishment, but thank you. I love you all the same. And I'm going to move this channel down. I am not a professional anything manager for a pizza shop, but, you know, I do like to bake. I do like to cook. I do like to garden and woodwork and all kinds of stuff, preserve and can things. Like I said, basically all things food. So while I'm thinking about it, don't forget to hit the subscribe button. Right next to it's the notification bell if you want to know when my videos come out. And as always, I never take your guys' time for granted. Time is a precious commodity, and I just am awed by the fact you take time out of your day to even spend a few minutes with me. Thumbs up, thumbs down. Hey, hit them. I didn't used to care about them so much, but they do a couple things for us. They let me know if I did good, I did bad. It helps get us out into other people's feeds, so we can get more people into our community, and that's the important part. You know, you may not know if you're new, but as you know if you're not new, we're a community of good neighbors. That's what we're trying to be, you know, and we're doing it through just food and, you know, principles, practice of what we think of being good people, doing unto others like we do unto them, or they do unto us. And, yeah. So, that being said, comments are always welcome. That's another way to tell me if you liked the recipe. If you didn't, you know, or if I'm just, you know, horrible person, whatever. But you can comment on it at any rate. Just be nice. Keep it civil. And you don't have to agree. Just be civil about it. Think before you type. So, that being said, let me get you down here to the counter. And we'll go over what we're going to need and start baking us a cake. All right, hold on for me 1 second. Some things we're going to need to start off with to make this cake is we're going to need 1 4-ounce bar of chocolate. Use whatever chocolate you like, but just the bar of chocolate. We're going to cut that up or break it up if it's thin enough you can. And we're going to put it on a double boiler, which I have right here. And we're just going to turn it on low. We're just going to slowly melt this chocolate. This is going to be what gives us our marble, our marbled cake. So I went ahead and I got that on. I just got it on, you know, low, medium low. You don't want the water underneath to boil. That pan's got water in it, and the steam is slowly melting this chocolate. If the water boils or hits the bottom of this bowl, you could burn your chocolate. You don't want that. And then, you know, we're just going to occasionally, we just got to get in here and give it a stir. You know, and like I said, we're just slowly melting this chocolate. No rush. We don't need it for quite a few minutes. And then the next thing we're going to do, we're going to turn our oven on, 350 degrees, get that warming up. Do you need out? Come on outside. Hold on for me 1 second. Gotta let the dog out. Oh, yeah. Okay, let Sam out. If you don't know Sam, that's my dog. So we got that on. We got the oven running. Today I am going to use my stand mixer. Okay, which let me get you down here onto the counter a little more now. I guess if I would have put the stand mixer there, you wouldn't have been able to see the oven top to see what we were doing with the pot. Let's get that handle turned so we don't burn or knock it over. Things you'll need: scale. Always preach a scale. I'm going to give you measurements in cups, teaspoons, tablespoons. I'm also going to give them to you in grams. Not every place that people live use cups, the measuring cups as far as cups, half cup, quarter cup, or imperial weight, or imperial measurements. They use metrics, which would be grams, milligrams, ounces, no, milliliters, liters, and so on and so forth. So this is important. And realistically, when you use grams and milliliters for things, liquids and solids, you get a more accurate and consistent run. I'm using my stand mixer today. You can also use a hand mixer for this. You can probably even do it by hand. And I got my scale out. And that's really, other than a couple of spatulas, rubber spatulas, that's pretty much all you need. So we're going to start with grabbing a couple spatulas. And we're going to start with a couple spatulas. You can never have too many. Our dry ingredients. All right. We're going to get those together real quick, and we're just going to set them to the side. But right here in this bowl, I have some cake flour. All right. Now, cake flour is different than regular all-purpose flour. It's a little lower in glutens. And you want to sift it. Just put a sifter on top, pour it in, and sift it through. Okay? The reason being, you want that to be as clump-free and powdery as possible. And I used my fine sifter on this. The same one you see me use all the time. So I've got my 2 3/4 cup, 330 grams of cake flour here. To this, I'm going to add 2 teaspoons, 8 grams of baking powder. Baking powder is a leavener. It helps things rise. It'll give your cake a nice lift without drying it up. And then we're going to add a half a teaspoon of kosher salt to this. All right. And kosher salt comes in a large and medium grade, medium size, like a coarse, medium, and fine. If all you can get is coarse, which is pretty much all I can get, you'll want to grind it up a little bit. Sorry about that. For those of you that are new to my channel, you pretty much see my entire kitchen. So a good portion of my stuff actually sits out in our dining room. So I may have to walk away for a second on occasion. So we've got that taken care of. Got our dry mixed up. One thing I should have mentioned prior to is the cake pans. This takes 2 9-inch cake pans. All right. And your cake pans, we're just going to set this aside. 3 ingredients, boom. Whisk together, set aside. Your cake pans, you're going to want to take, and I buttered them. I put butter all over it. Then I put a parchment liner in there, a piece of parchment paper. And then I put flour all over the inside. And I just tapped it to get all the flour around and got the excess out. That keeps your cake from sticking. It's very important. All right, so we got our dry ingredients together. Next thing we're going to do, wet ingredients. Give our chocolate a quick stir here. Make sure it is in good shape. All right, so in our stand mixer, paddle attachment if you're using a stand mixer, we're going to take 1 cup, 226 grams of butter. It's 2 sticks. Each stick is a half cup. Room temperature. All right, that's important. And we're just going to cream these real quick. All right, we're going to turn them from up. You got to plug it in first. It would help. For those of you who are new, I don't plug my stuff in until very last minute because we have little hands that run around. I don't want to see anybody get hurt. But I got our 1 cup, 2 sticks, 226 grams of butter in here, and I'm just going to cream it up real quick. Take it from stick form to just a cream, gelatinous cream sitting in the bottom of this bowl. All right, get that down to a cream. Doesn't take but a couple seconds. And like I said, you'll want it at room temperature. As always, all your dairy should be at a room temperature. Yeah, at your room temperature. About 72 degrees, 74. Yeah, whatever you keep your house at. is what your butter, or your dairy, and your eggs should be at. So we get that. Give a good scrape on the sides, but here I'll show you real quick what that is. What creamed butter looks like. No longer in stick form by any means. Give it a good wipe around the sides here real quick. And then to this, we are going to add some sugar. Just some regular old, put it in your cereal, put it in your coffee, sugar. Just white granulated sugar. And we have 1 3/4 cups, 350 grams of sugar. 1 3/4 cups, 350 grams of sugar. We're going to pour that in there. And then we're just going to turn this on medium high, 5, 6-ish on the stand mixer. And we're just going to let this run for probably 3 to 5 minutes. What we're looking to do is make this light and fluffy, get some air in it. It won't be smooth because your butter will absorb the sugar, but it won't absorb it completely and make it melted. But it will be light and fluffy, kind of like mashed potatoes. All right, so let's go ahead and get that started, and then we'll move on to the next step after that. All right. Oh, excuse me. Let that run for about 3.5 minutes, and after about 1.5 minutes, you want to stop and scrape down your sides of your bowl. Give it a good once over, just to make sure you're getting everything mixed up. Pause my movie there. Sorry about that. I've got a fondness for watching horror movies while I bake. Why horror, I don't know. But get this off our paddle here. Maybe get our paddle off of here. There we go. Then down for a second. And then just give this a good scrape. A good once over. Now, show you what I mean by mashed potato consistency. That is mashed potato consistency right there. Yeah, see how it just looks like mashed potatoes? That's what you want. It doesn't look like butter anymore. It doesn't have that yellowness to it. It's nice and light in color. It looks fluffy. That's what we're looking to do there. All right, so we got that on. Let me get this back on real quick. There's that. Next thing we need to add to this is 4 eggs. Okay. Now, in the meantime, my chocolate has melted. Okay, so all I did was just turn it off. I didn't take it off the pot. I just turned it off. That way, the chocolate doesn't reharden. It just stays nice and, liquidy, but it doesn't stay hot, because we don't want to mix hot into our cake batter. So, now that we got those done, we're going to add eggs. I've got 4 large eggs, 50 grams a piece, 200 grams of eggs. I'm just going to turn this on low, and I'm going to put these in one at a time and let them go until the yolk disappears. All right, got the last egg in there. Let that disappear, and we're almost done making our batter. All right, got that. Now, as always, I'm going to scrape it down again. Make sure we got everything incorporated real well. All right, get our eggs in there and incorporated. Excellent. All right. I'm here to tell you, this is like the moistest cake I think I've made to date. It is an awesome cake. All right, so now I have 1 cup of buttermilk. If you're new to my channel, you may not know I use a powdered buttermilk, and I make my own. That way I don't have to buy a big thing of buttermilk and waste it. Or you can just use regular whole milk or 2%, whatever you have, and add a teaspoon of lemon juice to it and let it set for about 10 minutes, and it'll turn it into essentially buttermilk. All right, to that, to my buttermilk, I'm going to add 15 grams, 1 tablespoon of pure vanilla extract. I don't use imitation extract. It's kind of weird tasting, I think. And I use it's a baker's extract. And what that does, a lot of times vanilla extracts will lose their flavor when you bake with them. Baker's vanilla extract is made specifically for baking. And we're just going to mix that up. All right, we got that done. We got our wet ingredients together. We got our dry ingredients together. Oven is warmed up. Chocolate is melted. We are about halfway home. I promise. All right, so now we're going to add our dry ingredients to our wet ingredients, and we're going to do it in stages. I'm going to put a third of this in at a time, and in between I'm going to put the buttermilk in. So I'm going to put a third of my dry goods in there, just like such. I mean, it doesn't have to be exact. You can guesstimate. It's okay. In this case, yeah, hands down. Low speed. If you don't do it on low speed, you will end up with a face full of flour. It has happened to me dozens of times. Start out on low and then work it up. All right, we got that first round incorporated. Turn it down to stir or low, and I'm gonna put half of my milk in, my buttermilk in, about a half cup ish. And just pour it in slow, doesn't have to be fast. And then we're gonna mix this up, and then I'm gonna do, I basically wash, rinse, repeat. The only thing I got to do differently, other than add another third of dry, the rest of the buttermilk, and another third of dry, is in between every single one, I'm gonna scrape down the bowl. We gotta scrape that bowl down. We wanna make sure everything stays combined. All right, we got our dry and our buttermilk in there. We are rocking and rolling, having a good time with it. That off of there. We are pretty much done with this mixer. Got it. Set that there. Put this off here. Undo. Set the mixer off to the side. Went ahead and took my chocolate off of the pot so that way it had a little more chance to cool down a little bit quicker, only because we're about to use it. So, like I said, you just don't want it blazing, boiling hot, if at all possible, you know, because you don't want to cook your eggs when you go to put it in your batter. So, let me get that off of there, like such. There we go. All right, our batter is complete. So, what we're going to do now, as I say so for the 900th time, is grab our scale. I'm going to clean out this bowl real quick because we're going to use it. Wipe it out, just had flour in it. We're going to grab our scale. Now I know this metal bowl here, this steel bowl here, it weighs 771 pounds. Well, 771 pounds. 771 grams. So I'm going to weigh this out. I've got about 1,400 grams worth of batter. We're going to split this. All right. So we'll go ahead and get our bowl here. Oop, I need the scale, would help. Let's say 700 grams each. So we'll go ahead and pour some of this, half of it in here. I mean, now if you don't have a scale, if you're not using a scale, that's fine. You just want about half, of your batter is what you're looking at. Right there. Excellent. We'll take that. Don't need the scale anymore. Then we're going to take our chocolate and simply just mix it into the batter here. Alright, got that. And then we'll just mix it up, and this will be the chocolate batter that we have for our marble cake. Alright, so we got this mixed. Our chocolate is mixed and looking delicious. We've got our white cake batter here. And what we're going to do is we're going to get our scale back, put our first pan on there, and we know we're right around, I put about 640 grams of batter in this instead of the 700. That way it'll compensate a little bit with the chocolate. So all we're going to do now is we're going to place our white cake batter in here as close to the edge as we can. And I just do mine in like 4 little spots. And we're going to mix these up. I mean, neatness doesn't really count in this, I promise. And like that. And then I will grab the other pan and do the same thing. That way we get about, you want to, when it comes to putting your cake batter in the pans, you want to make sure your cake batter is as close to even as possible. Yeah, that way they bake even. Yeah, you don't want to, put a whole, you don't want to put like 500 grams in one cake pan. I mean, you might, and then 200 in another cake pan. Then you're going to have one that gets done really fast and one that takes forever. And you run the risk of it not baking properly. I mean, there's just all kinds of could go wrongs there. So, get this. All right. Got the vanilla in there. Then we just had to fill it in with the chocolate. A couple, one in the center, some on the sides. Basically fill in the blank spots with the chocolate. Just like such. Okay, so we've got the chocolate in there. Just like such. Finish scraping off this little bit there. And then I just like to take my offset spatula. I mean, you could use the back of a spoon, whatever. And kind of make sure everything's to the edge. That's kind of important, I think. Make sure we're to the edge and even. One thing you don't want to do, and I'll show you here in a second why, is you want to try to stay away from like smoothing out the top completely, because what can happen, I mean, as far as like, I don't want to sit here and just take my spatula and go over the vanilla and the chocolate both together. But if you wiggle the chocolate or the vanilla, it'll balance out. Because then you end up with you could end up blending it together and making a super light chocolate cake. All right, so we got that done. Now I'm going to take my offset spatula. I'm just going to start on one side, and I'm just going to draw lines through it. Just like such. I'll go one direction. Then I'll come through, go a different direction, just like that, and then I'll do across. I'll do it 4 times in each pan, at a different angle each time. That way, I know that we're blended without making a one big chocolate soup mix. I mean, and right there we are. That is how that looks. And we get this other one done, and then we'll talk about putting it in the oven. All right, so we got those blended. As you can see, blended. So what do we do now? Well, let me bring you up here so I can see your smiling face. I know nobody likes to really look at my smiling face very long, but I absolutely love to look at yours. You're so cute. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to put these in the oven. All right? And we're going to put them in the oven for, I don't remember because it's been a minute, it's been a week since I made these. We're going to do 350 degrees, which we're already preset at, for 30 to 35 minutes. And like most cakes we make, 2 ways to look. As you look for them on the top, you should be able to take a toothpick, stick it in the center of the cake, and it should come out clean. Now by clean, I mean no batter on it. Crumbs are okay. Remember, a cake doesn't stop baking once we pull it out of the oven. It bakes as it cools. The top should be bouncy, which I'll show you these things when we take them out of the oven. So I'm going to get these in the oven, and I'll be back in just 1 second. Okay, so the timer just went off on the oven. So we'll go ahead and get the cakes out, and we'll give them the old test. Ooh. Yep, that's a little hot in there. There is one cake. Here is the other cake. Now, something I often fail to mention that you should do. When you've got your cakes in the oven, you should always, about halfway through baking, take them and rotate them 180 degrees. So make this side, that side. And then in this case with 2 cakes, I also flip them over. And you always want to leave a gap between them while you're baking. That way the airflow circulates around them and you get a nice even bake. Alright, so got the toothpick out. We'll put her down in there, pull her back out. And as you can see, I mean, there's a couple crumbs on there, but not much more. So we're good on that one. We'll put that down in there, pull it out. Once again, just a couple crumbs. So we're good as far as the toothpick test goes, and so I don't burn my hand. I'm just going to touch the top. It's got a nice bounce back. I'm not leaving fingerprints in it, anything like that, so we are good. So the next thing we got to do is just basically let these sit here and cool. I'm going to let them cool for about 30 minutes, and then we'll take them out of the pan and let them continue to cool, well, probably about 20 minutes. And then we'll take them out of the pan and let them cool down completely to room temperature. If we don't, when we make the icing, it'll kind of melt the icing. It makes it too warm and hard to spread. So when I come back, we'll take these out of the pan. All right, see you in a second. All right, so we'll let these cool down for about 20 minutes. So we're gonna take our spatula here, and I'm just gonna run it around the edges. Now, before I get too much further with that, I don't know if you can tell, but see how, yeah, you can see it. See how it's separated away from the edge a little bit already? That's good. It should do that as it cools. But just to make sure, you know, it's like a double indemnity thing. That way we know we're in good shape as far as it sticking to the edges go. And we got that around the edge. Put our plate on there. Flip it over. I just heard it drop, which is always a beautiful sound. Do that. And then we'll take our parchment paper off there. And these are still, I mean, they're not like real warm, but they're fairly warm. And then we'll take it and flip it back over onto its bottom. And then try not to tear it up. There we go. Like I said, these cakes are incredibly moist. Alright, now we're just going to let these sit and cool completely down to room temperature. And when I come back, we will make the icing and make some cakes. Alright, be back in just 1 minute. Alright, so let's make some icing. Cakes are about cool, so we can get that going. This icing is really easy. It's only a handful of ingredients. But it is not a healthy icing. It's a buttercream icing. It's a chocolate buttercream icing. So it's a cup and a half of butter, which we're going to throw in here. And the amount of powdered sugar that's in this icing is just ridiculous. But cup and a half, 339 grams of butter. We're just going to cream it up real quick. And it's room temperature, so it's already soft. I mean, it's literally now creamed. It took that long. Just because it is room temperature. I've had it setting out most of the morning. Now that we got that creamed, we're going to, as always, scrape some stuff down, because that's what we do. Get it off the arm there, or the paddle attachment. Off the sides. Just make sure there's no chunks in there, which there's not. I didn't figure there would be, because it's literally, I mean, room temperature, so it's close to 80 degrees. I'm guessing around there at any rate. Alright, now we got that creamed. Next thing we want to do is add a half a teaspoon, 2 grams of just salt. You can use table salt. I'm using kosher salt, just like always. And there is that. We're going to add 1 teaspoon, 4 grams of vanilla. You know, the pure vanilla extract that we were using. for the cake. I really wish you guys could smell this kitchen right now. Between the cake and this, the whole kitchen just smells like a cake factory. We got our buttercream. We got our half a teaspoon of salt. We've got our teaspoon of vanilla. Now I'm going to put in 1/3 of a cup or 67 grams of Dutch cocoa powder. I mean, you can use any kind of cocoa powder you want. I wouldn't, I would keep it kind of heavy on the bitter side. I'm using Dutch process, which is 100% cocoa, versus like a bittersweet that's 60%, only because it does have so much powdered sugar in it. You want to keep that balance between sweet and savory, as you would say in the cooking world. So I'm going to go ahead and I sifted my cocoa already to get the big lumps out of it. So you'll probably want to sift yours too. You want to make sure there's no lumps. And then we're just going to start this up on low. And we're just going to let this run for a minute until it's incorporated and the cocoa is all covered with the butter. All right, we got that incorporated. Now you want to make sure at this point you do scrape your bowl, just like always, because you don't want to have any white streaks in your chocolate of the butter. So you want to make sure it is completely mixed. Yeah, which if you let it run, you can't deflate icing, buttercream icing. You can't over mix it. I mean, you could probably add a little too much air in it, so I wouldn't do anything like on high speed, but I don't think it would hurt anything if you just let this thing run all day on medium, on a medium to low speed. So make sure we don't have any white streaks in there, and we don't. So the last 2 ingredients we need to make this with is the 5.5 cups or 675 grams of powdered sugar, or confectionery sugar, or the not brown sugar, not all-purpose sugar, granulated sugar. Just literally a big bowl of regular sugar. It's a ridiculous amount of sugar. And then the other ingredient is 5 tablespoons of heavy cream. So what we're going to do is we're going to put this in a cup at a time, a cup or so, a hefty cup at a time, and just do it in small batches. That way we're not sitting here getting powder all over the place. So I'll do a fat measuring cup, 1 cup of powdered sugar. I'm just going to turn this on low and walk away from it because I don't want a face full of powder. And it will incorporate itself. It's not any big rush. Once it starts to incorporate a little bit more, you can turn it up if you'd like. That way you don't get sugar all over the place. Okay, so we got the powdered sugar in there. Now I'm just going to take a little bit of the heavy cream and I'm just going to put it in and get that incorporated. Yes. Yeah, that's chocolate icing. There is your thing there.
Thank you.
Alright, got that. Got the little bit of heavy cream in there. Now we're going to give our bowl a scrape, as always. Scraping is important.
Yeah, but no, but it's.
Oh,
You like strawberry cake?
there is that.
Yeah. This is strawberry. This is called red velvet.
Alright, there is that. Then we'll add another cup of the powdered sugar. And we're just going to keep this process going. We're going to add some powdered sugar, mix it in. Add some heavy cream, mix it in, scrape our bowl, make sure things are getting mixed. And I'll be back once I get all this done. Alright, we got that all mixed up, ready to go. So we will, that's exactly what we're going to do. Pop this blade off. Get all that knocked off of there. Then we'll give it a good, just want to make sure everything's really mixed up in there. We don't have any powdered sugar clumps or butter streaks or anything like that. And it looks like we're in good shape. Show you here real quick. Sorry, pause my movie real quick. Once again, horror movie. But there we are, nice and creamy and good to go. Now, if it's too thick for your liking, you can add a little more heavy cream. That being said, if it's a little too thin for your liking, you can always add a little more powdered sugar. Now, if it's warm and not really workable for your cake, you can always put it in the fridge for about 10 minutes. So let me get all this picked up real quick and we'll start icing. All right, got it cleaned up. Got our bottom cake on the cake round. So someday I'll own a turnable stand. Yeah, one that rotates, but I don't know why. I just have never gotten one. Although it'd be nice to have one. So we'll get some half a cup, give or take, of icing here in the center, maybe a little more. This icing recipe makes more than you can go really heavy with this icing. So if that's what you so desire, whether it be in the middle or on top or on the sides, there's plenty of icing for this with this recipe. So you're not going to lack in the icing department. Now, if you remember on the blueberry cake that we did week before, maybe it was last week, I used a piping bag to do the icing. Today, I'm not even going to make that mess. We're just going to ice this up as we go. And I'm going to go a little thick with this. So we'll just use the offset spatula and the rubber spatula, and we're going to make our dreams come true that way. All right. Okay, got the icing on that one. And like I said, if you wanted a little creamier, thinner icing to spread around, you can. When I made this the last time for my friend, Jeff, was actually for his fiance. Oh, got a piece that broke off. That's all right. Oh. I actually did use 6 tablespoons of cream and made it really smooth. But this time I would go with 5 and see how that turned out. That's what the recipe actually calls for, is 5. So we'll get this on here, and it does. I mean, it makes it firmer, you know, so you can play with it a little more. But I liked it at 6 tablespoons too. It was nice and smooth and creamy. So now we're going to get this on the top. And when we do the top, I'm going to take a lot of it to the side there because I'm going to bring it over. Just like that. Now, this cake, if we were doing this for a customer, so to speak, you know, or you didn't want to see the bits of cake, because it's the bottoms of them are very sponge-like. They're not, yeah, the cake isn't firm where we had the parchment paper on, so it's not like the top where it's, you know, nice and solid. It's got some sponginess to it. So you can put what's called a crumb coat on this, and all that is a really thin coat of icing. And what that does is it picks up all the crumbs that might be part of the cake. So that way you don't get little pieces of cake in your icing. But this is just for us, you know, so I'm okay with it. I have no qualms with it at all. Alright, so now that I got the top iced, we're going to go ahead and hit the sides up. So to do that, I'm just going to take my icing with my big spatula here, put it on the side. Yep, you can see. Good. And run it around here and fill that hole that I had created when the piece came off. Yeah, which is okay. So we'll go ahead and get the sides iced, and then we'll take a look at it. Okay, we got it all iced up, cleaned up a little bit there. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this, it's a bench knife is what it is, a bench scraper, and you use it to like pick up fruits, vegetables, stuff like that. But you can also use it for baking. And I'm just going to take this and I'm going to run it around the edges here, around the sides, and smooth them out a little bit in an attempt to make it look at least somewhat respectable. Alright, so we got the sides somewhat cleaned up there. Now I'm just going to take my knife and I'm going to make some like swoops in the top here. Your decorating ideas are endless. I mean, even for a basic cake like this, I mean, we're not doing anything fancy. You know, it's just for the house. That way we can see what we got going on. Now, the one I made, the last one I made, which was for my buddy Jeff and his fiance, like I said. You know, I did a completely smooth top on it, and then I took some chocolate ganache and I drizzled it on it, you know, and then put a little bit of shaved chocolate on there, which is what we're going to do now. Is put I'm just going to sprinkle some shaved dark chocolate on this. But say it's a birthday cake, you can put sprinkles on it. You can put chocolate sprinkles on it. You could put anything you want on top of this. You could even take the icing you got left, and you can put some dollops on there, or run a nice, pretty ring around the top and the bottom edge there. Like I said, the possibilities are only, you're only limited by your imagination, so to speak. But today I'm just going to throw some of these chocolate shavings on there. To give it a little bit of pop, but nothing, crazy, so to speak. There is that. Oh, got a little chocolate on the counter there. There's a piece of chocolate. I need to wipe my hands off. They are a disaster. And then there, my friends, is our cake. Alright, well, let me get cleaned up here real quick, and then when I come back, we're going to try this cake, see how it turned out. I don't think we'll be disappointed. Alright, see you here in a second. Okay, so everything cleaned up, good to go. Let's cut this bad boy. We'll cut a piece here and see how it turned out. Hopefully it turned out just like the last one I made, which, here tell, I mean, I don't know because I didn't eat any of it because it wasn't for me, but I know the test run we did of it, which I actually screwed up part of it, and that was, so I'm trying out these new, they're called wet straps, and you put them around your cake pans, and they're supposed to help keep your cakes from doming and unevenly baking on the sides. And they worked, but I screwed up and didn't pay attention and put the wrong strap on a pan, and it came out lopsided. One of the layers came out lopsided, and so I couldn't use that one to give to somebody. That would just be, rude. So that became our test cake, and then I made the second one for Jeff and his fiance, and then this one for you guys per request. Which, like I said, I don't think we're gonna fail at this one at all. Now, as soon as I'm done with this and I put it in a container, I'm gonna put it in the fridge. I want this icing to firm up just a hair bit more. It's not bad now, but it's not quite where I want it to be. So I should have probably stuck it in the fridge for a minute before we iced, but I didn't. So here, I'll show you the inside of it right there. Is a nice, it's got a nice marble look to it. I think it looks good. Not a whole lot of crumbs falling everywhere. That makes me happy. That tells me it's moist. There is our end result in one piece form. Right there. So, all we got left to do is, just because it looks good and my kitchen smells fantastic like a bakery, which it does most of the time, to be truth be known, we gotta taste it, right? See how it tastes. So we'll get a fork out here and let's try some of that. Well, get a little chocolate vanilla action going on in there with the icing right there. See, here, try that. It's amazing. You'll like it, I promise. Yeah, see, that's what I thought. It's good, isn't it? That's. That is moist. I mean, it's incredibly moist. Yeah, you can't beat that. So now I know this recipe really works. You know, the test run we did the first time, or the script, how you look at it, the one piece that was not affected by my experiment tasted great. Jeff and his fiance both said that the cake they got off of me was fantastic. And this cake is too. It's just so tender. I mean, it's not dry, not by any means. And the chocolate and the white cake are nice and balanced. And even though that icing has 5.5 cups of powdered sugar in it, it's not overly sweet. I promise. It's got its armor. So, that is definitely one to try. I do want to show you what I worked on this morning before we baked this cake. And that is this red velvet cake here with a cream cheese icing. Now, let me tell you about this red velvet cake. This red velvet cake, we've made one. I have a video on it, and it was a good red velvet cake. Red velvet cakes are inherently dry. You know, it's hard to get them moist and keep them moist. So, Chris's mom had this recipe for red velvet cake, and it was actually the top layer of our wedding cake was this recipe red velvet cake. But I don't remember. That was almost 2 decades ago. It was 2 decades ago. So, but her mom gave us the recipe. And I tried it this morning to see how much moister it was than the one we made for the video for. The recipe is really nothing like my recipe. And it is incredibly moist. And it's just got an amazing flavor. And I'm thinking about doing a video on it because it's not hard. You don't use a whisk, you don't use a mixer, you don't use anything, nothing. You use a bowl and a spoon to make that cake. So it'd be a good cake literally a good cake for beginners or people who don't have a lot of tools. So anyhow, the marble cake, outstanding. Try this recipe. I guarantee you will make friends all over the neighborhood with this cake. You will be so impressed with how easy it is, because it really is an easy cake. And if you do try it, let me know. Let me know what you think. I do want to, if you've made it this far, thank you. And I meant to, at the beginning, welcome our new subscribers. We have quite a few new subscribers. And we seem to be growing our neighborhood every week, and that's awesome. But till next week, when, like most weeks, I don't know what we're cooking. I don't know what we're baking. Never do. Or what we're going to get into for the week. I love you. I love you very much. I mean that from the bottom of my heart. You know, and with all sincerity. Tell somebody else you love them, and you love them very much. It's going to make them feel so much better, especially if you throw some of this marble cake their way with it. I guarantee it. All right. I'll see you next week. I love you. Bye.